The basement door had a deadbolt on the outside. My father kept the key on a chain around his neck. For 12 years, I heard their footsteps above me, dinner parties, Christmas mornings, my sister's birthday songs, while I sat on a stained mattress with a bucket for a toilet. When the social worker finally opened that door, I hadn't seen the sun in 4,380 days, something they didn't know about. A diary. Hidden under a loose floorboard in my grandmother's bedroom. And on the last page, she had written the name of a lawyer who would change everything. My name is Grace Natalia Cross. I'm 30 years old. And I spent 12 years of my life in a basement. Not a prison. Not a dungeon. A basement. In my family's house. A room with concrete walls, a single light bulb, and a mattress on the floor. A bucket for a toilet. A sink that only ran cold water. A window too small for a child to climb through, not that anyone would have helped me if I did. I was locked in that basement because I was different. That's what my parents said. Grace is different. She needs special care. She can't be around normal people. Different how? I wasn't violent. I wasn't dangerous. I was quiet. I read books. I drew pictures. I talked to myself sometimes. I didn't like loud noises. I didn't like being touched. I cried when things changed too fast. I was autistic. Not that my parents ever used that word. They didn't believe in labels. They believed in discipline. In hiding. In pretending that their second daughter didn't exist. My older brother, Samuel, knew I was in the basement. He brought me food sometimes. He never told anyone. My younger sister, Abigail, was born after I was locked away. She didn't know I existed until she was 10 years old. My parents told everyone I had been sent to a special school. A boarding school. In Switzerland. They showed photoshopped pictures of me in front of fake castles. They collected sympathy from the church congregation. Poor Cross family. Their daughter is so troubled. I wasn't troubled. I was imprisoned. For 12 years. From age 6 to age 18. And when I finally got out, when the social worker finally opened that basement door, I didn't run away. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I looked at my parents and smiled. Because I knew something they didn't know. My grandmother had left me everything. And she had written a clause in her will that said if I was unable to claim my inheritance due to circumstances beyond my control, the entire estate would double and go to me anyway. She knew. Somehow, she knew what they were doing. The basement wasn't always a prison. When I was very young, before I can really remember, I think I lived upstairs. There are flashes. A yellow kitchen. A dog named Gus. My brother Samuel teaching me how to tie my shoes. But when I was 6, something changed. I had a meltdown. That's what the therapists would call it later. A sensory overload. Too much noise. Too many people. Too much light. I screamed. I covered my ears. I fell on the floor and couldn't get up. My father was embarrassed. My mother was ashamed. They didn't know what to do with a child who wasn't normal. So they put me in the basement. Just until you calm down, my mother said. Just until you learn to behave, my father said. I never learned. Or maybe I learned that behaving meant disappearing. So I disappeared. The first year, my mother brought me food 3 times a day. She read me stories through the door. She told me she loved me. The second year, the stories stopped. She still brought food. But she didn't stay. The third year, my father installed a lock on the outside of the door. A deadbolt. The kind you need a key for. So you don't wander out at night, he said. I never wandered. I didn't know how to wander. I had forgotten what the upstairs looked like. By the time I was 10, I had stopped asking when I could come out. By the time I was 12, I had stopped believing there was an out. By the time I was 14, I had stopped talking to anyone except myself. The basement was small. Maybe 12 feet by 12 feet. A concrete floor. A concrete ceiling. One window near the ceiling, too small for me to fit through, even when I was a child. There was a mattress on the floor. Thin. Stained. I slept on it for 12 years. There was a bucket in the corner. My father emptied it once a day. Sometimes he forgot. Sometimes I sat in my own filth for 2 days. There was a sink. Cold water only. I brushed my teeth with my finger. I washed my face with the same bar of soap for months. There was a light bulb. One. Hanging from a wire. My father turned it on in the morning and off at night. When it burned out, he didn't replace it for 2 weeks. I sat in the dark, counting seconds, learning to navigate by touch. There were books. My grandmother sent them. Boxes of them. Before she died, she sent me everything she thought I might need. Novels. Biographies. Textbooks. A Bible. A dictionary. I read every single one. Some of them twice. Some of them 5 times. My grandmother was the only one who visited me. Not in person. She wasn't allowed. My parents said I was too volatile for visitors. But she wrote me letters. Every week. For 12 years. Dear Grace, I love you. I'm working on something. Be patient. One day, you'll be free. I didn't believe her. Not at first. She was just an old woman. What could she do? But she was doing something. She was rewriting her will. And she was documenting everything. My grandmother, Margaret Cross, was not a rich woman. But she was smart. She had been a paralegal for 40 years. She knew how to write a will that would hold up in court. She knew how to hide evidence. She knew how to plan. She started keeping a diary. A written record of everything she suspected. The locked basement. The missing granddaughter. The lies my parents told at church. She wrote down dates. Times. Conversations. January 15, 2002. Called the house to speak to Grace. Sylvia said she was at her boarding school. I called the boarding school. They have no record of her. March 3, 2003. Drove past the house at night. Saw Samuel bringing a tray to the basement door. There is a light on in the basement window. Someone is down there. June 12, 2004. Sent Grace a box of books. The postman said he handed them to Carlos, who took them to the basement. Carlos did not deny that Grace was in the basement. He just closed the door. She kept this diary for 12 years. Hidden in her house. Under a loose floorboard in her bedroom. She didn't tell anyone. Not me. Not the police. Not a lawyer. She was waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting until she was sure that her evidence would be enough. She died when I was 17. I didn't know. No one told me. I just noticed that the letters stopped coming. I sat in the basement, staring at the last letter she had sent. Dear Grace, I'm not well. The doctors say I don't have much time. But I've made sure you will be taken care of. Don't lose hope. I love you. Grandma. I folded the letter. I put it under my mattress. I cried for 3 days. Then I stopped crying. Because crying didn't change anything. Because the only thing that would change anything was getting out. The day I got out was a Tuesday. I was 18 years old. I had been in the basement for 12 years. I had not seen the sun in over a decade. I had not spoken to anyone outside my family in longer than I could remember. A social worker came to the house. Her name was Miss Harriet Vance. She was investigating a report of neglect. I don't know who made the report. My grandmother, probably. Or maybe a neighbor who had seen something strange. Or maybe Samuel, who had always felt guilty but never had the courage to act. Ms. Vance knocked on the front door. My mother answered. She was polite. Charming. The same woman who had locked her daughter in a basement. "I'm here to check on the welfare of the children in the home," Ms. Vance said. Of course. We have nothing to hide. She didn't know about the basement. She didn't know about me. My parents had removed me from all official records. I didn't exist. No birth certificate. No social security number. No school records. No doctor's visits. I was a ghost. But Ms. Vance was thorough. She asked to see the whole house. The upstairs. The bedrooms. The closets. The basement. "The basement is just storage," my mother said. "Nothing to see." "I'd like to see it anyway." "It's locked. I can't find the key." "I'll wait." My mother panicked. She called my father. He came home from work. He tried to charm Ms. Vance. He offered her coffee. He talked about his business. He asked about her family. She didn't leave. "I need to see the basement, Mr. Cross." "It's state law." My father took out the key. He unlocked the deadbolt. He opened the door. The smell hit first. Stale air. Mildew. The faint odor of a bucket that hadn't been emptied. Ms. Vance walked down the stairs. I was sitting on the mattress. Reading. A book about astronomy. I looked up. She looked at me. Her face went pale. "Who are you?" she asked. "Grace," I said. My voice was hoarse. I hadn't spoken to a stranger in 12 years. "I'm their daughter." She turned around. She looked at my parents. They were standing at the top of the stairs. "You have a daughter living in your basement?" She's troubled," my mother said. "She needs special care. This is for her own protection. She's a child. She's been locked in a basement." "She's 18, my father said. "She's an adult. She can leave anytime she wants." The door was locked from the outside. "She locks herself in. She's afraid of the world." I stood up. I walked to the stairs. I climbed them slowly. My legs were weak. I hadn't climbed stairs in 12 years. "I'm not afraid of the world," I said. "I've never seen it." Ms. Vance looked at my parents. Then she looked at me. "You're coming with me, Grace." "Where?" "Somewhere safe." She took my hand. I flinched. I wasn't used to being touched. But I let her hold it. She led me up the stairs. Out of the basement. Through the kitchen. Past my mother, who was crying. Past my father, who was silent. I walked through the front door. The sun hit my face. I had to close my eyes. It was too bright. Too warm. Too much. I stood on the front porch, blinking, feeling the wind for the first time in 12 years. "Are you okay?" Ms. Vance asked. "I don't know," I said. "I don't know what okay feels like." Ms. Vance's car smelled like coffee and vanilla air freshener. I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window, watching trees and houses blur past. I had forgotten that the world was green. I had forgotten that the sky was so big. She didn't ask me questions. She just drove. Later, she told me that I was the quietest person she had ever rescued. She asked if I wanted to go to a hospital. I said no. She asked if I wanted to call anyone. I said my grandmother was dead. She asked if I had any other family. I thought about it. Then I said, my grandmother's lawyer. She wrote about him in her diary. Ms. Vance looked at me. Your grandmother kept a diary? Under a loose floorboard in her bedroom. She wrote everything down. The basement. The lies. The lawyer's name. Do you remember the lawyer's name? Harrison. Mr. Harrison. She said he was the only one she trusted. Ms. Vance didn't take me to a hospital. She took me to her office. She made phone calls. She found Mr. Harrison. He came to see me the next day. He was an old man. 74 years old. White hair. Glasses. A cane. He walked slowly. But his eyes were sharp. "Grace," he said. "Your grandmother told me about you. She told me everything. Why didn't you do anything?" "She asked me not to. She said she was collecting evidence. She said she wanted to make sure that when the time came, your parents wouldn't be able to fight it." "She's dead." "I know. I'm sorry. But she left you something. A letter. And a copy of her will." He pulled out a thick envelope from his briefcase. He handed it to me. I opened it. My hands were shaking. The letter was short. "Dear Grace. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But I'm also free. And now, so are you. I left you everything. The house. The savings. The stocks. Everything I have. But I also left you something else. A clause in my will that says if you are unable to claim your inheritance because someone is keeping you from it, the entire estate doubles. The money goes into a trust. And you get it all." I knew what your parents were doing. I couldn't stop them. But I could plan. "Go see Mr. Harrison. He will help you. I love you. I always have. Grandma." I read the letter 3 times. Then I looked at Mr. Harrison. "The estate doubles?" "Yes. Your grandmother was very clever. She knew that if you were being held against your will, you wouldn't be able to sign papers or appear in court. So she built in a contingency. If you were unable to claim your inheritance due to circumstances beyond your control, the entire inheritance would be placed in a trust in your name, doubled from the original amount." "How much was the original amount?" "Your grandmother's estate was valued at approximately $1.2 million. The house. The savings. The investments. With the doubling clause, you're looking at $2.4 million. I stared at him. I had spent 12 years in a basement. I had eaten food from a tray. I had used a bucket for a toilet. I had read books by a single light bulb. And now I was being told that I was worth $2.4 million. What about my parents?" I asked. "What about them?" "They sold my grandmother's lies to their friends. They pretended I was in Switzerland. They locked me in a basement. What happens to them?" Mr. Harrison smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who had been waiting for this moment. "Your parents are going to be very surprised when they find out that not only do they not get a penny from your grandmother's estate, but they also have a civil lawsuit to contend with. False imprisonment. Child abuse. Forgery. I've already filed the paperwork. They didn't forge anything. They just locked me up. They forged your grandmother's signature on a document that said you were in Switzerland. They used it to access her house after she died. They've been living there. Did you know that?" "I didn't know that." "My grandmother's house. The one she had left to me. My parents were living in it." "They're in her house?" "They have been for 3 years. Since she died. They told the neighbors you were in a special facility. They've been collecting her mail. They've been spending her money. They've been pretending that you don't exist." I closed my eyes. "I want them out. They'll be out. By the end of the month. I'll make sure of it." The next few weeks were a blur. Ms. Vance found me a place to stay. A small apartment. Not fancy. But it had a door that locked from the inside. A door I could control. I learned how to use a shower. How to cook on a stove. How to buy groceries. How to talk to people without flinching. I went to a doctor. A real doctor. He said I was malnourished. Vitamin deficiencies. Muscle atrophy. He said my bones were weak from lack of sunlight. He said I would need physical therapy. He said I would need to see a therapist for my mind, not just my body. I went to a therapist. Her name was Dr. Evelyn Marsh. She specialized in trauma. You've been through something most people can't imagine, she said. I know. How do you feel about your parents? I don't feel anything. I used to feel sad. Then angry. Then nothing. Nothing? Nothing. They're not my parents anymore. They're just people who kept me in a room. That's a healthy way to look at it. It doesn't feel healthy. It feels empty. Empty is better than broken. Empty means there's room to fill. She was right. I started filling the emptiness. With books. With walks outside. With conversations. With small pleasures. A warm meal. A soft blanket. A window that faced the sun. I started to feel like a person. Not the person I would have been if I had grown up normally. A different person. A stranger to myself. But a person. Mr. Harrison called me 3 weeks after I got out. Grace, the eviction notice has been served. Your parents have 30 days to vacate your grandmother's house. What did they say? Your mother cried. Your father threatened to sue. I told him he was welcome to try. I also informed him that criminal charges are pending. The district attorney is reviewing the case. Criminal charges? For what? False imprisonment. Child endangerment. Deprivation of a minor. Possibly kidnapping. Your parents kept you in a basement for 12 years, Grace. That's not a family dispute. That's a crime. I sat down. My legs felt weak. Will they go to jail? That's up to the judge. But I can tell you that the evidence is overwhelming. Your grandmother's diary. The testimony of the social worker. The physical condition they found you in. The fact that they told everyone you were in Switzerland. It doesn't look good for them. What about Samuel? My brother. He knew. He brought me food. He never told anyone. Samuel is a different case. He was a child himself for most of those years. The DA may offer him immunity in exchange for his testimony. And Abigail? My sister? Abigail was born after you were locked away. She didn't know you existed until the social worker's report. She's not facing any charges. But she's struggling. Her entire understanding of her family has been shattered. I didn't know what to feel about Abigail. She was my sister. But I had never met her. She had grown up in the same house where I was locked in the basement. She had eaten dinner at the same table where my parents lied about me. Can I meet her? I asked. She wants to meet you. Her therapist thinks it's a good idea. But I'll leave that up to you. I'll think about it. I met Abigail on a Saturday. She was 19 years old. College student. Studying psychology. She had my grandmother's eyes. The same shape. The same color. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral ground. She was crying before she sat down. I didn't know, she said. I swear to God, I didn't know. I believe you. How can you? How can you believe anything after what they did? Because you're here. You came. You didn't have to. She wiped her eyes. She looked at me. Really looked. You look like the pictures. The ones Grandma had. Before she died. I don't remember what I looked like. I haven't seen a mirror in 12 years. She winced. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have asked questions. I should have wondered why there was a locked door in the basement. I should have. You were a child, Abigail. You're still a child. It wasn't your job to save me. Whose job was it? Mom's? Dad's? They were the ones who put you there. I know. Do you hate them? I don't hate them. I don't love them. I don't feel anything. They're strangers to me. Strangers who hurt me. But I don't have the energy to hate them. She nodded. She understood. Or she was trying to. Can I see you again? She asked. If you want. I want. We exchanged numbers. She hugged me before I left. I let her. I still wasn't used to being touched. But I was learning. The criminal case moved faster than anyone expected. My parents were arrested on a Thursday. I wasn't there. I didn't want to be. I heard about it from Mr. Harrison. They were taken into custody this morning. Your mother collapsed. Your father tried to run. The police caught him 3 blocks from the house. What are the charges? 2 counts of false imprisonment. 2 counts of child endangerment. 1 count of deprivation of a minor. 1 count of conspiracy to commit fraud. The DA is also considering kidnapping charges, but they're still reviewing the evidence. What's the difference between false imprisonment and kidnapping? Kidnapping usually involves moving someone from one place to another. False imprisonment is holding someone against their will. Given that they kept you in the basement for 12 years, both charges could apply. What kind of sentence are they looking at? If convicted on all counts, your father could face up to 20 years. Your mother, 10 to 15. But they'll likely plead down. Their lawyer is already talking about a plea deal. What kind of deal? Plead guilty to the false imprisonment charges in exchange for the kidnapping charges being dropped. They'd still serve time. But less. How much less? 5 to 7 years, probably. With parole. 5 to 7 years. For 12 years of my life. It didn't seem fair. But I had learned that fairness was not something the world owed me. Do what you think is right, I said. I don't want to be involved in the decision. You're the victim, Grace. You have a say. My say is that I don't want to think about them anymore. I want to move on. Whatever happens in court, happens. Mr. Harrison was quiet for a moment. You're a remarkable young woman, Grace. I'm not remarkable. I'm just tired. The plea deal went through. My parents pleaded guilty to false imprisonment and child endangerment. The kidnapping charges were dropped. My father was sentenced to 6 years in state prison. My mother was sentenced to 4 years. They would be eligible for parole in half that time. I didn't attend the sentencing. Mr. Harrison went. He told me that my mother cried. That my father didn't look at anyone. That the judge called their actions a profound betrayal of the most basic human trust. I didn't feel anything when I heard this. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Just a quiet acknowledgement that a chapter was closing. Samuel testified against them. He was granted immunity. He told the court everything. The food trays. The locked door. The lies to relatives. The way my father kept the key on a chain around his neck. After the trial, Samuel came to see me. He looked older than I remembered. He was 32 now. Married. 2 kids. He worked at a car dealership. He drove a pickup truck that was too clean. Grace. Samuel. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I've said it 1,000 times. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Then why are you here? Because I need you to know that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better. Not because I want your forgiveness. Because I want to be someone my children can be proud of. That's between you and them. I know. But I wanted you to hear it. He left. I didn't stop him. I didn't invite him to stay. Some wounds are too deep for words. Some bridges are too burned to rebuild. Maybe someday I would feel different. But not that day. The house on Maple Street, my grandmother's house, became mine. Mr. Harrison handled the paperwork. The eviction was complete. My parents' belongings were removed. A cleaning crew came in. They scrubbed every surface. They painted the walls. They replaced the carpets. I walked through the front door for the first time since I was a child. I didn't remember much. Flashes. A yellow kitchen. A staircase with a wooden banister. A backyard with a tree I used to climb. The house was bigger than I expected. 4 bedrooms. 2 bathrooms. A basement, the same basement where I had been imprisoned. I didn't go down there. I had someone else seal the door. I never wanted to see it again. I moved in slowly. 1 room at a time. I bought furniture. A bed. A couch. A table. Things that were mine. Things that no one could take away. I planted a garden in the backyard. Vegetables. Herbs. Flowers. Things that grew. Things that needed sunlight. I started to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness. Not peace. Something simpler. Safety. The inheritance money was released when I turned 21. Mr. Harrison had set up a trust. The original $1.2 million had doubled to $2.4 million. With interest and investments, it had grown to nearly $3 million by the time I had full access. I didn't know what to do with it. I had spent 12 years with nothing. Now I had everything. It felt wrong. It felt like I hadn't earned it. You did earn it, Dr. Marsh said. You survived. That's more than most people can say. Surviving isn't earning. I didn't do anything. I just didn't die. That's not nothing. That's not even close to nothing. You kept your mind alive. You taught yourself to read. You taught yourself to think. You didn't let them break you. That's not passive. That's active. That's a choice you made every single day for 12 years. I thought about that. About the choice to keep reading. To keep hoping. To keep believing that my grandmother's letters were true. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had earned it. I paid off Mr. Harrison's fees. I donated money to organizations that helped abused children. I set up a scholarship in my grandmother's name. I kept the rest. Not for luxuries. For security. For the knowledge that I would never have to depend on anyone again. The years passed. I finished high school through a GED program. I went to community college. Then university. I studied psychology. I wanted to understand what had happened to me. I wanted to help other children who were invisible, the way I had been invisible. I graduated with honors. I went to graduate school. I became a therapist. Not a famous one. Not a wealthy one. Just a person who sat in a small office and listened to other people's pain. I didn't tell my clients about my past. Not at first. It was too heavy. Too strange. Too hard to believe. But eventually, I learned that my story was not a weakness. It was a bridge. It connected me to people who had been through similar things. It showed them that survival was possible. That healing was possible. That you could come out of a basement and still find the sun. My mother was released from prison after 2 years and 8 months. She didn't contact me. I didn't contact her. My father was released after 4 years and 2 months. He also didn't contact me. I heard through Samuel that they had divorced. That my mother was living in a small apartment. That my father had moved to another state. That they didn't speak to each other anymore. I didn't feel anything when I heard this. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Just a quiet acknowledgement that they were strangers. Strangers who had once held me captive. Strangers who no longer had any power over me. Abigail and I stayed in touch. She finished college. She got a job as a social worker. She worked with at-risk children. She said she wanted to help kids who were invisible, the way I had been invisible. "You inspired me," she said once. "I didn't inspire you. You inspired yourself." "Maybe. But you showed me that it was possible to survive. To come out the other side. To not become bitter." "I am bitter," I said. "I'm just not consumed by it." "That's the same thing." "No. It's not. Bitterness is a poison you drink and expect the other person to die." I stopped drinking it. "That doesn't mean I forgot the taste." She nodded. She understood. "I never married. I never had children. I thought about it sometimes. The idea of a family. The idea of trust. The idea of loving someone enough to let them see the scars. But I was afraid. Afraid of being trapped again. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of waking up one day and finding that the door was locked from the outside. Dr. Marsh said this was normal. She said trauma doesn't disappear. It just finds new places to hide. "You're not broken, Grace. You're cautious." "There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Broken things don't work. Cautious things work. They just work slowly. Carefully. They test the ground before they take a step." I've been testing the ground for 10 years. Then take a step. A small one. See what happens. I took a step. I joined a hiking group. Strangers who walked together on weekends. No pressure. No expectations. Just footsteps and conversation. I met a woman named Claire. She was a veterinarian. She liked dogs and old movies and the smell of rain. She didn't ask about my past. She didn't push. She just walked next to me. "You're quiet," she said one day. "I've always been quiet. I like it. Most people talk too much. Most people don't know what to do with silence. Silence is where the good stuff lives." She smiled. I smiled back. It was a small step. But it was a step. Claire and I kept walking together. Every Saturday. Same trail. Same pace. Same comfortable silence. She talked about her dogs. About the surgeries she had performed. About the owners who cried when their pets survived. I talked about my garden. About the tomatoes that were finally ripening. About the cat that had decided my porch was his porch. We didn't talk about the basement. She didn't ask. I didn't offer. But one day, she asked a question that changed everything. "You ever think about having a family of your own?" The question hung in the air. I stopped walking. She stopped too. "I don't know," I said. "I don't know if I know how. How to have a family. How to trust. How to love. How to be around people without waiting for them to lock me in a room." She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. "Someone locked you in a room?" "My parents. For 12 years. From when I was 6 until I was 18. The words came out flat. Clinical. Like I was reading a report. Claire was quiet for a long time. Then she said something I didn't expect. "That's why you're so quiet. Not because you don't have anything to say. Because you learned that saying things didn't help." Something like that. "Thank you for telling me. Thank you for not running away." Why would I run away? Most people do. When they hear the truth. It's too heavy. They don't know how to carry it. I'm not most people. She took my hand. I didn't pull away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, going over the conversation again and again. I had told her. I had told someone who wasn't a therapist or a lawyer or a family member. I had told a woman I barely knew. And she hadn't run. Dr. Marsh said this was progress. You let someone see you. That's hard for you. That's good. It doesn't feel good. It feels terrifying. Terror is not the opposite of progress. Terror is the price of progress. You can't grow without fear. What if she tells someone? What if she looks at me differently now? Then you'll handle it. You've handled worse. She was right. I had handled worse. I had handled 12 years in a basement. I could handle a woman knowing the truth about me. The next Saturday, Claire showed up at the trailhead. She was wearing the same hiking boots. The same blue jacket. The same smile. I brought snacks, she said, holding up a bag. Trail mix. The kind with chocolate. I like chocolate. Everyone likes chocolate. That's not a personality trait. It's the only personality trait I have. That's not true. You also have a cat. The cat has a personality. I just live in his house. She laughed. I laughed. It was small. But it was real. We walked. We talked about nothing. The weather. The trail. The chocolate and the trail mix. Normal things. Safe things. At the end of the walk, she asked me something else. Do you want to have dinner sometime? Not on the trail. At a restaurant. With chairs and a table and other people. I don't do well in restaurants. Too many people. Too much noise. Too many things happening at once. Then my place. I'll cook. No people. Just you and me and my dogs. You have dogs? 2. A golden retriever and a mutt from the shelter. They're terrible at cooking, but they're good listeners. I thought about it. About saying yes. About saying no. About the fear that was sitting in my chest like a stone. Okay, I said. Dinner at your place. The dinner was on a Friday. I drove to her house. A small bungalow. Yellow. Flowers in the front yard. A porch with a swing. The golden retriever met me at the door. His tail was wagging so hard his whole body shook. The mutt hung back, watching, waiting to see if I was safe. That's Charlie, Claire said, pointing to the golden. And that's Luna. She's shy. I understand shy. I knelt down. I let Luna sniff my hand. She licked my fingers. Then she wagged her tail. You passed the test, Claire said. Luna doesn't like anyone. Luna has good instincts. She does. That's why she likes you. Dinner was simple. Pasta. Salad. Bread. Claire talked about her work. About a dog she had saved that week. About a cat that had surprised everyone by surviving. I listened. I asked questions. I ate. It was the most normal thing I had done in years. After dinner, we sat on the porch. The sun was setting. The dogs were asleep at our feet. This is nice, I said. It is. I didn't think I could have this. Normal things. Dinners. Porches. Dogs. Why not? Because I spent 12 years learning that the world wasn't safe. It's hard to unlearn that. You don't have to unlearn it. You just have to learn that some things are safe. Some people are safe. Not everything is the basement. How do you know the difference? You take a risk. You try. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's also the only way to live. We started seeing each other more often. Dinners at her place. Walks in the park. Movies on her couch. Small things. Quiet things. Things that didn't overwhelm me. She didn't push. She didn't ask about the basement. She didn't treat me like I was broken. She just was. Present. Steady. Safe. Dr. Marsh asked me if I was in love. I don't know, I said. I don't know what love feels like. I know what fear feels like. I know what survival feels like. I know what loneliness feels like. But love? I don't have a map for that. Love is not a destination. It's a practice. It's showing up. It's choosing someone every day. It's letting them see you. I'm letting her see me. That's terrifying. Terror is not the opposite of love. It's the shadow love casts. You can't have one without the other. Months passed. Claire and I became a thing. A couple. Two women who walked together and ate dinner together and slept in the same bed sometimes. She never asked about the money. She never asked about the house. She never asked about the inheritance. She didn't care. She cared about the garden. About the cat. About the way I smiled when the tomatoes ripened. You're different than anyone I've ever met, she said once. Different how? You don't take anything for granted. The sun. The rain. A warm meal. A dog's tail wagging. You notice things other people don't. That's what happens when you spend 12 years with nothing. You learn to appreciate everything. That's not a curse. That's a gift. It doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a wound that healed wrong. Healed wrong? You're alive. You're kind. You're here. That's not wrong. That's a miracle. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing. I just held her hand. The phone call came on a Tuesday. Samuel. My brother. He sounded strange. Not drunk. Not angry. Something else. Something I couldn't name. Grace. It's Dad. What about him? He's sick. Cancer. Pancreatic. The doctors say it's spread. He doesn't have long. Why are you telling me? Because he's asking for you. He wants to see you before he dies. I don't want to see him. I know. But I thought you should know. So you don't regret it later. I won't regret it. You say that now. But when he's gone, you might feel different. I've had 18 years to feel different. I don't. Samuel was quiet. I'll tell him you said no. Tell him I said nothing. He doesn't deserve my words. He doesn't deserve my silence. He deserves nothing. I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, going over the conversation again and again. My father was dying. The man who had locked me in a basement. The man who had kept the key on a chain around his neck. The man who had told everyone I was in Switzerland. He was dying. And he wanted to see me. Why? To apologize? To ask for forgiveness? To clear his conscience before he met whatever waited for him on the other side? I didn't care. His conscience was not my problem. His guilt was not my responsibility. He had made his choices. He had lived with them. Now he would die with them. Claire found me in the kitchen at 3 a.m. You're awake. I'm always awake. What's wrong? My father is dying. He wants to see me. I said no. How do you feel about that? Nothing. I feel nothing. That's not nothing. That's something. You're just not ready to name it yet. She sat down next to me. She didn't try to fix it. She didn't offer advice. She just sat there. Present. Steady. Safe. Do you want to talk about it? No. Do you want to sit in silence? Yes. We sat in silence until the sun came up. My father died 3 weeks later. Samuel called me. He was crying. He's gone. He died this morning. In his sleep. Okay. That's all you have to say? Okay. What do you want me to say, Samuel? That I'm sad? I'm not. That I'm relieved? I'm not even that. I'm just nothing. He was nothing to me. He made himself nothing to me. He was our father. He was a man who locked his daughter in a basement. That's not a father. That's a captor. Samuel didn't respond. He just hung up. I sat in my garden. The tomatoes were red. The cat was sleeping on the porch. The sun was warm. I didn't feel nothing. I felt something. But it wasn't sadness. It wasn't relief. It was the quiet acknowledgement that a chapter had closed. A chapter one had never wanted to read. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't send flowers. I didn't call my mother. I didn't reach out to Samuel. I stayed home. I watered my garden. I fed the cat. I made dinner for Claire. You're sure you don't want to go? She asked. I'm sure. You won't regret it? The only thing I regret is that I didn't get out of that basement sooner. Everything else is just noise. She didn't push. She never pushed. My mother called me a week after the funeral. I hadn't spoken to her since the trial. Her voice was different. Older. Softer. Broken. Grace. It's your mother. I know who you are. I'm not going to apologize. You don't want to hear it. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. You won't give it. I'm calling to tell you that I'm sorry. Not because I want anything from you. Because I need to say it before I die. Are you dying? No. Not yet. But I will someday. And I don't want to go without saying it. You said it. Now what? Now I hang up. And I leave you alone. Like you asked. Okay. I do love you, Grace. I always did. I was just too broken to show it. That's not an excuse. I'm not giving you an excuse. I'm giving you the truth. There's a difference. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, holding the phone, staring at the wall. Claire came up behind me. She put her hand on my back. You okay? I don't know. She said she loves me. I don't know if I believe her. You don't have to decide right now. You can just sit with it. See how it feels. It feels like nothing. Then it's nothing. For now. Maybe it will change. Maybe it won't. Either way, you're allowed to feel whatever you feel. I put down the phone. I went back to my garden. The tomatoes didn't care about my mother's apology. The cat didn't care about my father's death. The sun didn't care about any of it. The sun just kept shining. And I kept planting. Claire and I kept seeing each other. We didn't move in together. We didn't get married. We didn't have children. We just were. Two women who had found each other. Two women who didn't need a piece of paper to prove they cared. Do you ever think about the future? She asked one night. We were lying in bed. The dogs were asleep on the floor. The window was open. The air smelled like rain. Sometimes, I said. What do you see? I see this. You. Me. The garden. The cat. The dogs. Quiet mornings. Slow evenings. Nothing dramatic. Nothing scary. Just peace. That sounds nice. It sounds boring. Boring is underrated. Boring means no one is locking you in a basement. Boring means you're safe. She was right. Boring was safe. And safe was something I had never had. The years passed. I turned 25. Then 30. Then 35. My therapy practice grew. I specialized in trauma. In children who had been abused. In adults who had been invisible. In people who had been told they were too much or not enough. I didn't tell them my story. Not at first. But sometimes, when a client was struggling, when they couldn't see a way out, I would say something small. Something that let them know I understood. I know what it's like to feel trapped, I would say. I know what it's like to believe that no one is coming. But someone came for me. And I'm here. And I'm not leaving. They didn't know the details. They didn't need to. They just needed to know that survival was possible. That healing was possible. That they weren't alone. My mother died when I was 32. Samuel called me. He was crying again. She's gone. She died this morning. In her sleep. Just like Dad. Okay. She asked about you. At the end. She asked if you were happy. What did you tell her? I told her you were. I told her you had a garden and a cat and a woman who loved you. I told her you were safe. Thank you. She said she was proud of you. She said she wished she had been different. She said she wished she had been the mother you deserved. It's too late for wishes. I know. But I thought you should know. Thank you, Samuel. Are you going to come to the funeral? No. I figured. I'll tell everyone you're in Switzerland. He almost laughed. I almost laughed. It was the closest we had come to humor in years. I didn't go to my mother's funeral either. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything except a quiet sense of closure. The woman who had locked me in a basement was gone. The man who had kept the key on a chain around his neck was gone. They had died as they had lived, strangers to me. I didn't hate them. I didn't love them. I just let them go. Claire and I celebrated our 10th anniversary together. Not with a party. Not with gifts. Just with a walk on the trail where we had first talked. The same trail. The same pace. The same comfortable silence. 10 years, she said. 10 years. Do you ever regret it? Meeting me? Staying with me? No. Do you? No. But I do wonder, are you happy? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know if I know how to be happy. Not the way other people are happy. But I'm content. I'm safe. I'm not afraid. And that's more than I ever thought I would have. That's happiness, Grace. It just doesn't look like the movies. The movies lied about a lot of things. They did. But they got one thing right. What's that? Love is showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when you're scared. Even when you don't know if you're doing it right. She took my hand. I held it. We walked until the sun went down. I still have the basement key. My father's key. The one he kept on a chain around his neck. The one that locked me in for 12 years. I found it in his things after he died. Samuel sent it to me. I don't know why he kept it. I don't know why he thought I would want it. I didn't throw it away. I put it in a drawer. In my grandmother's house. In the room that used to be hers. Sometimes, when I'm feeling brave, I take it out. I hold it in my hand. I feel the weight of it. The weight of 12 years. The weight of a childhood stolen. The weight of a family that chose to hide me instead of help me. And then I put it back. And I close the drawer. And I walk outside. Into the garden. Into the sun. Because I am not that girl anymore. I am not in the basement. I am not locked in. I am free. And no key can ever change that. I don't know when I started thinking of the basement as the basement instead of home. Maybe it was the day I planted my first tomato. Maybe it was the night Claire fell asleep on my shoulder. Maybe it was the morning I woke up and realized I hadn't dreamed about the concrete walls in months. Healing doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on the door and say, "I'm here, let's start." It slips in quietly. Like sunlight through a curtain. You don't notice it until the room is bright. Dr. Marsh told me that healing is not a straight line. You'll have good days and bad days. Days when you feel almost normal. Days when you feel like you're back in the basement. The goal is not to never have bad days. The goal is to have more good days than bad ones. How do I know if I'm getting there? You'll stop counting. She was right. I stopped counting. I stopped counting the years. I stopped counting the days. I stopped counting the hours since I had last thought about the lock on the door. I just lived. Claire and I bought a house together when I was 34. Not my grandmother's house. That house was still mine. I kept it. I rented it to a young family who needed a place to grow. They planted flowers in the front yard. They painted the kitchen yellow. My grandmother would have approved. Our house was smaller. A cottage. A garden in the back. A porch with a swing. Room for the dogs. Room for the cat. Room for us. "This is ours," Claire said the day we moved in. Ours. No one can take it from us. No one can take anything from me anymore. I won't let them. She smiled. I smiled. We unpacked boxes. We hung pictures. We made a home. I still think about my grandmother. Not every day. But often. When I'm in the garden. When I'm reading a book. When I'm drinking coffee on the porch. I think about her letters. About the way she wrote my name. About the way she said "I love you" at the end of every single one. "Dear Grace, I love you. I'm working on something. Be patient. One day, you'll be free." She was working on something. She was working on my freedom. She was working on my future. She was working on a plan that would outlive her. I keep her diary in my nightstand. The one she hid under the floorboard. The one with the dates and the times and the conversations. Sometimes I read it. Not because I need to remember. Because I need to feel close to her. She was the only one who saw me. The only one who didn't look away. The only one who fought for me when no one else would. I became the therapist I wished I had had as a child. Not the one who asked, "How does that make you feel?" The one who said, "I believe you." The one who said, "You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're surviving." My office is small. A couch. 2 chairs. A box of tissues. A window that faces a tree. People come to me with their pain. Their secrets. Their shame. They tell me things they have never told anyone. And I listen. I don't judge. I don't interrupt. I just listen. Sometimes, when they're ready, I tell them a little bit about my story. Not the whole thing. Just enough. Enough for them to know that I understand. That I've been there. That they're not alone. "How did you get out?" they ask. Someone opened the door. Who? A social worker. But really, my grandmother. She planned it. She made sure that when the door opened, I would have somewhere to go. Someone to help me. Something to hold on to. I don't have a grandmother like that. Then be that person for yourself. Be the one who opens the door. Be the one who plans. Be the one who refuses to give up. Claire proposed to me on a Saturday. We were in the garden. The tomatoes were ripe. The cat was sleeping on the porch. The dogs were chasing each other in the grass. She got down on one knee. She pulled out a ring. A small diamond. Simple. Elegant. Grace. I know you don't like big gestures. I know you don't like attention. I know you're scared of being trapped. But this isn't a trap. This is a choice. My choice. I'm choosing you. I've been choosing you every day for 10 years. And I want to keep choosing you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? I stared at her. Claire. You don't have to say yes. You don't have to say anything. You can just think about it. Take your time. Yes. What? Yes. I'll marry you. I don't need time. I've had 10 years. That's enough. She put the ring on my finger. Her hands were shaking. My hands were shaking. We kissed. The dogs barked. The cat opened one eye and went back to sleep. It was the most normal thing in the world. And it was perfect. We got married in the garden. Small. Simple. Just us and a few friends. Abigail came. She cried. Samuel came. He stood in the back, quiet, respectful. He didn't try to hug me. He didn't try to apologize again. He just was there. And that was enough. I wore a white dress. Claire wore a blue suit. We wrote our own vows. I promised to be patient, I said. I promised to be honest. I promised to remember that silence is not emptiness. I promised to let you see me, even when I'm scared. I promised to choose you every day, even on the days when choosing is hard. I promised to be your safe place, Claire said. I promised to never lock a door between us. I promised to listen to your quiet and fill it only when you want me to. I promised to water your garden when you forget. I promised to love you not despite your scars, but because of them. We kissed. The dogs barked. The cat slept. It was not the wedding I had dreamed of as a girl. I hadn't dreamed of weddings. I had dreamed of doors that opened. But this was better. This was real. I am 40 years old now. I have a wife. A garden. 2 dogs. A cat. A house. A job I love. A sister who calls me on Sundays. A brother who sends me photos of his kids. I have money. More than I need. I have a scholarship in my grandmother's name. I have a foundation that helps children who are invisible, the way I was invisible. I have peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from forgetting. The kind of peace that comes from remembering and not being destroyed by it. I still have nightmares sometimes. The basement. The concrete walls. The light bulb that burned out. The sound of footsteps above me. But when I wake up, Claire is there. She holds me. She doesn't ask questions. She just holds me. And I remember that I am not in the basement anymore. I am in our bed. In our house. In our life. The door is not locked. It has never been locked. Not since the day I walked out. My mother's ghost does not visit me. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in choices. My mother made hers. I made mine. She died alone, I think. Not because no one was in the room. Because she had spent her whole life pushing people away. Protecting the wrong child. Hiding the wrong truth. I don't know if she loved me. I don't know if she was capable of love. I don't know if the words she said on the phone were real or just a performance, one last time. I have stopped asking. Some questions don't have answers. Some answers don't matter. My father's key is still in the drawer. I took it out last week. I held it in my hand. I felt the weight of it. The weight of 12 years. The weight of a childhood stolen. And then I walked to the basement door. The one in my grandmother's house. The one that had been sealed for years. I unlocked it. I opened it. I walked down the stairs. The basement was empty. No mattress. No bucket. No light bulb. Just concrete walls and a concrete floor and a window that let in a sliver of light. I stood in the middle of the room. The room that had been my world for 12 years. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," I said. The walls didn't answer. The floor didn't move. The window didn't open. But something inside me shifted. Something that had been stuck. Something that had been waiting. I walked back up the stairs. I closed the door. I locked it. And then I took the key off its chain. I walked to the backyard. I dug a small hole under the pecan tree. I put the key in the hole. I covered it with dirt. "Goodbye," I whispered. The wind blew. The leaves rustled. I pretended it was my grandmother's voice. "You're free, Mija. You always were. Here's what I want you to know. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, the one who was trapped, the one who was invisible, the one who was told you were too much or not enough, hear me. You are not what they said you were. You are not the basement. You are not the locked door. You are not the bucket or the mattress or the light bulb that burned out. You are the one who survived. The one who kept reading. The one who kept hoping. The one who didn't let them break you. And survival is not pretty. It's not clean. It's not a movie where the bad guys go to jail and the hero rides off into the sunset. Survival is messy. It's years of therapy and nightmares and learning how to trust again. It's planting tomatoes in a garden and crying for no reason. It's forgiving yourself for not being perfect. But survival is also yours. No one can take it from you. Not the parents who locked you away. Not the siblings who didn't save you. Not the world that didn't see you. You survived. And that is the only victory that matters. I didn't forgive my parents. I don't know if forgiveness is something they deserved. I don't know if forgiveness is something I was capable of giving. But I stopped carrying their weight. I put it down. In a garden. Under a pecan tree. Next to a key that no longer mattered. And I walked away. My name is Grace Cross. I'm 40 years old. I live in a small cottage with a garden and a porch and a woman who loves me. I have 2 dogs who bark at nothing and a cat who sleeps in the sun. I have a job that helps people who are invisible become seen. I don't have a perfect life. I don't have a happy ending. But I have peace. And peace, I have learned, is the best revenge. The basement is gone. The key is buried. The door is closed. And I am free. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been trapped, invisible, or told you weren't enough, leave a comment. Tell me, what did you survive? Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.